What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys have been doing well since I last posted. And now, if you didn't see the announcement, today's video is going to be about Russian father Vyacheslav Matrosov and his former friend Oleg Sviridov. Now, just for all of our sakes here, I'm just going to use just their first names, just so I don't keep getting myself tongue-tied on these Russian last names. Now, the only scene setting we really got to do for this video before we hop into the topic is this just takes place a couple years ago in like a small village in Russia. It doesn't take place in like a big city like Moscow or something like that. Just like a little small village in Russia somewhere. Now, these were lifelong friends, but Vyacheslav was 35 when this happened and Oleg was 32. So just a couple years younger than him. And Vyacheslav trusted Oleg implicitly. They were good friends. He babysat Vyacheslav's kids for him. All that stuff that that lifelong friends do. These two were doing together. And one night, they were drinking together, as friends do. They hang out, they drink, they do whatever. And Oleg either drinks too much and passes out, or he just drinks too much and decides to go to sleep. Something happens where he's asleep and Vyacheslav's awake. Now, Vyacheslav decides that he wants to go through Oleg's phone. Now, I've never done that. I know people that do that. Sometimes they just want to post something stupid online. They want to do something like that. Or they just want to take a bunch of dumb pictures. Who knows what the reasonings that Vyacheslav had to go through Oleg's phone. Now, he decides to do that. And I'm going to give you guys a second to brace yourself, in case you don't know the story already, as to what Vyacheslav finds on Oleg's phone. Ready? Vyacheslav finds on Oleg's phone video footage of Oleg assaulting Vyacheslav's then 6-year-old daughter. And in this video that Russian officials later talked about, they said that in this video, you can hear Vyacheslav's daughter telling Oleg to stop, that she wants to go home, not to do this to her. At 6 years old, she's already saying stop. She's 6 years old, for Christ's sake, you know what I mean? So Vyacheslav gets understandably pissed. He confronts Oleg. We don't know what he said. He probably said something to the effect of how expletive dare you, how a lot of expletives, and tells Oleg to turn himself into the police. And Oleg, knowing what people with charges like him get treated like in prison, he's like, I'm not gonna turn myself in, so Oleg flees and Vyacheslav goes to the police. He goes, this is what Oleg was doing. So this kicks off two manhunts at the same time. This kicks off the police's manhunt for Oleg and Vyacheslav's manhunt for Oleg. And essentially, it's just a race to see who gets to Oleg first, the mad dad or the police. Now, if you're Oleg and you're on the run, you obviously want no one to find you because you're on the run and you did this horrendous thing. Now, but if you have to pick, you obviously would rather have the police catch you rather than the mad dad, because who knows what the mad dad's going to do to you if mad dad gets his hands on you. And unfortunately for Oleg, the police do not find him first, and Vyacheslav gets his hands on him. Now, you might be thinking maybe he shoots him instantly, maybe he does something like that, maybe, something crazy happens like that where as soon as he finds him, he offs him. And that's not how it ends up. Vyacheslav takes Oleg to the woods, forces him to dig his own grave. Now, Vyacheslav would later say that he did not intend to kill Oleg. He only basically wanted to sufficiently scare him to the point where he turns himself in. Now, that didn't happen. Oleg's obviously, like I said earlier, a few minutes ago, Oleg knows what people with charges like him, what happens to them in prison, and what other people who are in prison view people with charges like him as. So he's like, I'm not turning myself in. I'm not going to do that. Now, the story goes, a scuffle breaks out, and Oleg ends up getting stabbed with the knife that Vyacheslav has. So Oleg ends up getting stabbed. He ends up dying. Now, this is probably part of the story that you may have heard before, because the rounds made on social media was that Oleg got stabbed like 37 times, and I couldn't find that at all. Now, he probably at least got stabbed multiple times, because I've never heard of a stabbing where someone only got stabbed once, even if it was an accident. But if it was an accident, let me rephrase that, he may have gotten stabbed once, but most times when people get stabbed, they don't get stabbed once. You know what I mean? He may not have gotten stabbed 37 times. I couldn't find that, but that's just how stabbings usually work. So he ends up in this grave that he got forced to dig himself. Now, a little side note here. I think his family knew where he was. They were helping him at some point, because at no point did I ever see during this research anywhere where his family spoke out against what he had been accused of, spoke out against what he did. So they were either helping him financially, turned a blind eye to what he was doing. Hopefully, I'm just wrong. Hopefully, they just didn't know what he was doing until after this event came out. And I'm just, I'm just speculating here. But I think to some point they either knew where he went. Even if they didn't know where he went, he may have at least had the finances to run, because I don't know where he went afterwards. And the community at large, which I'll get into talking about the community's reaction to this in a second, didn't exactly help him either. So, little side note done. Let's come forward. So Oleg is dead, and he's in this grave that he got forced to dig. Now his body gets found like a week later or something like that, from what I saw. Now, the police obviously know who to look at first. So Vyacheslav ends up getting arrested for Oleg's murder, for killing Oleg, dumping his body in this grave that he made Oleg dig himself. Now, here's another twist in this story. The Russian authorities end up ruling his death a suicide, basically saying that let's just word it as he canceled his subscription to Life magazine. You know what I mean? And this makes the community happy, because they didn't want him to be charged with murder, because they backed Vyacheslav when the story came out 100%, because they're like, if this is true, this man's a monster. This man's this man was protecting his child. And the police would later say that Oleg also had other similar content on his phone. And we know, usually, if you guys are into true crime at all, when people film that kind of content, what they usually do with that once they have the footage or the pictures of it. I'll just leave that there. So he gets obviously these murder charges dropped, because if it's officially been ruled a life cancellation, you can't be charged with murder if you officially didn't murder him. So he ends up basically getting charged with coercing him into doing that, into coercing him into, as I said, canceling his subscription to Life magazine. And he ends up getting convicted, and he gets sentenced to like 18 months in a Russian penal colony. Now, the community still did not like that. They were like, that's too much. We don't want him to be in charged at all, essentially, because they didn't view anything that happened with Oleg dying as wrong. They basically viewed it as their community being better off without Oleg, because Oleg was a monster, essentially. That's how it seems like the community viewed this situation, as Oleg was doing all of these terrible things, and we're glad he's gone. That's one less monster that we have to worry about roaming our streets. Now, Vyacheslav only ends up doing about 6 months in jail out of the 18 months, and he gets released. And to my knowledge, that's where the story stands. He gets released. Now, the community still wants those charges, the life cancellation charge, let's just call it, to be dropped. They don't want him to have a criminal record at all, due to all of the reasons I was just talking about. But to my knowledge, I don't know if it's been dropped. I couldn't find that, but maybe it will be. We'll have to see what happens. And like I just said, that's where the story ends. Hopefully Vyacheslav can help rebuild his family. Hopefully his daughter is recovering. Hopefully she's doing better, and hopefully she will do better, because we know what victims of that type of abuse can deal with throughout the rest of their lives. So I just hope that his family is safe and together, because if you look at the pictures of his family that are on social media, it just looks like a beautiful young family. And it's a tragedy that this had to happen, but unfortunately there are people out there like Oleg that do that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the story. Let me guys know in the comments below what you would have done if you were in Vyacheslav shoes as the mad dad or the mad mom, if you happen to be a mom or a dad. If you would have found out that your if your kid was getting abused, by Oleg in the way that Oleg was abusing them. But yeah, that's the story. Like I just said, if you like this, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more content. Let me guys also know in the comments what other content you guys want to see. You guys really seem to like the crime content, so I can stick with that. If you guys want me to, or any other type of topic, let me know in the comments below what you guys want to see. What you guys want to see me talk about in the future, and I'll see if I can potentially do content on it. Now, I am going to start posting on Instagram soon. I know I talked about that in the past, I believe. It just hasn't happened yet, but I will start posting on Instagram. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can. I don't have dedicated content pages because I'm just not big enough to have a separate page just for my content. So if you just look me up on Instagram and on Twitter, you guys can follow me there. Now, maybe one day, if I get big enough, I will just have videos and pages rather for just content, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just a small little creator over here. So until next time, guys, stay awesome and stay safe.